Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast where we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John Campbell.
Yes.
You know, this job...
Our sacred duty?
Yeah, I will say, especially with the two-parters.
Yeah.
We actually did get lucky. There's been at least one that was a pleasure.
Salem's Lot.
And that was Salem's Lot.
Still like one of my favorites, and still one I've gone back to, well, not since we watched it, but one I had already seen, 3 or 4 times before we actually watched it. I love that movie.
I own it. It's in my collection.
Same
and
here.
So,
but I don't own this.
No, sir. I was about to say that, we do always hold out hope that maybe the first part, just was a bad reflex, and then the second part's going to be great.
Right.
In the
Save
case
the
of
good
this,
stuff for part 2, yeah.
I do enjoy our weekly watch of movies, but this felt like homework, John.
Yes, it did.
It felt like I have to do it. I wasn't looking forward to it. Part 1 showed me that their take was so not what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Apparently, a lot of people love it, and I have no idea what's wrong with these.
We're going to share at least pieces of those reviews as we go along here, because I read through some of them, and they didn't see the same movie we did as far as I'm concerned.
Nope.
Yeah.
John, and this is a serious question. Do you know what I hate?
What's that?
This movie.
And we can officially say that now. We were kind of going, this is pretty bad last week, but we can't fully say it to part 2. We can officially say, I got to say, this is the least I've enjoyed any of the Phantom movies.
There
by
you go.
Far.
Which is saying something, because
that Universal one's pretty fucking boring.
Yeah, but this is, and there's talent in it.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed that Charles Dance's career survived this.
Oh, God, this should have been the end. Yeah, this should have been it for him.
This is horrible.
And
he's great. We love him. Terry Polo, she's fine.
Well, how'd she
Burt
get out of this
Lancaster's
thing?
A legend.
I mean, Lancaster's dead in a couple years, But I'm talking about, Terry Polo and Charles Dance are on the ascent. So, yeah, the fact that this didn't trip them up, boy.
It's terrible.
Maybe the fact that
I don't like a single thing about this, except that they shot at the Paris Opera, but even that...
Boy, well, and actually part 2, now we're on the Lagoon set, though, for quite a bit of it. And what a
Which is
set
terrible
it
look.
is. It is such a TV set.
It is such a TV set, and I will say this, as far as art direction and set dressing, the design of it's not bad. It's got gothic touches and so forth. It is literally the way this thing is lit and shot. This whole movie is a TV movie, and it shrieks it at every moment.
Well, we've also talked about the director here is also soon to be dead. Lancaster's on his way out. Everybody here is either just Charles Dance is kind of he's been big in BBC, but I think this is kind of the first. Well, no, 86 he does The Golden Child, so that was kind of big here in the States.
It actually wasn't. I mean, it did better than it should have, but the reviews were terrible on that, and it was his first big failure. Eddie's first big failure.
I still really
I know you
love
love
Golden Child.
I know
I
you
still really like that one. But his Dance's next thing after this is an Alien 3. Ooh.
Wow.
Oof.
Wow.
Oof.
Then let's just say the man is bulletproof.
Well, luckily he swings back around with a movie that did do poorly at the time, but I feel like has been reevaluated now, which is The Last Action Hero.
Yeah, but still.
No, good, really good.
Says the child who saw it.
It's so clever. It was ahead of its time, I think, man.
It actually is a great concept.
I think people weren't ready for it.
I wish it had been a better movie. Parts of it I really loved.
People weren't ready for it, is what I stand by. People weren't ready for something that kind of snarky and satirical about Hollywood.
But it really isn't snarky enough, is the problem, is that it still wants to be somewhat adorable, like a kid's action movie. And then I'm like, come on, man.
It's also Charles Dance is having the time of his life, though, in it, playing a comic book villain.
And I will say, again, the man's sheer will and talent prevail when the movies let him down. This thing is an embarrassment. It is a stain.
Well, I'll just say, though, I know you and I are both looking forward to seeing him in the Netflix Sandman TV show.
Are you kidding me with that? Of course. I saw that teaser, and it still feels like it can go either way, but I'm leaning towards this might be great.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Gaiman is show running it gives me so much faith in it, obviously.
Hey, you know what we're not talking about? This movie.
Anything but this. Jesus Christ.
You want Part to talk 2 about, of Phantom of the
let's
Opera.
Just jump right in. Previously on Phantom of the Opera, we saw the Phantom cut down the chandelier with a sword. And
first I want to say to our listeners at home, if they were worried that this would not start with another a rehash over the credits of just outdoor shots.
I'm sorry,
that look like tourist video.
Yeah, I forgot that because I fast forwarded through that.
Oh yeah, it is literally the same except for not intercutting Christine looking around going, ooh.
I was just skipping through it with like the 10-second button going, nope, nothing new, nothing new, nothing
more
new,
statues, more gargoyles, more statues, more gargoyles.
It's like 2.5 minutes.
I know.
It's
and
long.
You're sitting there going, why didn't you shoot some at night, at least to give them some atmosphere instead of this broad daylight?
And also, maybe they could have done daylight and then night for the second part or something.
Ooh, look at that. You actually put some artistic, conceptual...
Well, I'm not a dying old man making his last thing going, whatever, yes...
Oh, he didn't do it. It was second unit, and he said, I don't know, get some shots of the outside of the place, and they said, okay.
He said, when I was directing Tom Jones,
God.
Oh, dear.
I feel bad for all the near-dead people that this is something they left us with.
The great and legitimately the great Tony Richardson, who he did direct Tom Jones, which is a great movie. And a bunch of other stuff he directs. He's a real deal filmmaker. Down the stretch here, he's having some trouble. 1984 is The Hotel New Hampshire.
Oh, not great, but not terrible.
Not great, but not terrible.
When you compare it with like World According to Garp.
Yes, and also when you compare it to the book, right? I just think in terms of like it doesn't live up to its source material. Although good cast.
Again, good cast.
But we're near the end with this guy.
Nope.
He can see the light coming at him. Oh dear! I mean, he's dead the next year, for the love of God.
Well, I think there were times on set he was literally heard saying, "Grandfather, that you, grandfather?
Is that you?" Oh dear! His
that's
last
disrespectful.
His last directorial effort was was a segment of the TV movie "Women and Men: Stories of Seduction."
Oh, he did something sexy towards the end. Maybe that caused the actual heart attack.
Oh dear! Oh hey, whoa! Lots of good people in this.
What are those boobies?
Yeah. Oh! I don't think this was I don't think this was that sleazy a thing. I mean, at least based on this cat. Although James Woods is in it, so. But our old pal Peter Weller's in it. Melanie Griffith, Molly Ringwald.
Maybe it was high class sexy.
Yes, that's the sense I get. It seems like Ken Russell, one of the people behind it.
Oh boy, Ken Russell.
That's high class sexy though, Ken Russell.
That's a director that we won't be approaching on our podcast, but he is worth talking about. He is odd and great.
I do have I had to buy it from England, the Blu-ray of The Devils.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can't get that here in the States, man.
You can't get that shit.
No. Way too controversial for the U.S. But a great, crazy, drunk Oliver Reed performance in that thing.
Yeah. Oh, you could have just said Oliver Reed.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have to add drunk. That's. Anyway, we open on people in panic about this crashed chandelier, but thank God, no one was hurt.
Oh, that's not true. 2 people carried out on stretchers, but they are alive.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, carried out on stretchers.
Yes, there were some minor cuts and bruises.
Minor cuts and bruises. That's the take on Phantom. That
I
you're
will spoil this whole. The Phantom, having now seen part 2, never directly kills anyone.
What about the guy gets hung in this one?
Did he do that though, or was that a trap?
That was probably just a trap.
Because that's what I say, not directly. Because two cops get killed by traps down there, but while he set
those are traps he had set up, like possibly years before.
That's the thing. It's not even like a Rambo movie where you see him set the traps and it's still indirect.
Oh no, but this is the movie where, and it doesn't pay off at all.
When he's rolling the spear cannon.
He has a fucking, it's not a trebuchet, it's some sort of a giant crossbow thing that he sets up, and you're like, is that gonna pierce some guys? No.
I know, when he was rolling that into place, that's the moment I got mildly excited about this movie, because I thought, oh, here we go. Nope. Yeah, he's got a spear launcher is what I called it in my notes.
It's a spear launcher, and it doesn't lead to anything. He is just making a barricade.
They make a point of it. He's rolling it in and kind of lining it up. I thought, oh yeah. And he has the whole line about, like, I have my defenses set should they come for me. And I thought, okay, all right, maybe this thing will deliver in the last half hour or something. Lord,
no.
No.
That's where you would be wrong.
I can't wait to get to the Schumacher version after this. Jesus Christ.
Sadly, I have to agree, even though I hate it.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it.
All right,
I have very mixed feelings about it. Yes,
it is a severe disappointment,
but it's a very handsome production.
Yes,
there's no question about that. Okay, so yes, they we got.
They do literally pick up immediately after the first movie.
Yes.
So here's
he's taken Christine.
The chandelier aftermath.
He's disappeared with Christine. The Phantom is during the chaos. He grabbed Christine and is taking her. He's taking her down to his lair. I love that the police go, "Here he is. Here's the Phantom," and they just put the cuffs on the guy playing Mephistopheles.
I know. Well, again, this one is trying to.
This is comedy, man.
Still trying, and there's more embarrassing things for Ian Richards to
because he's
deal
here
with later.
He's here with the right by the broken chandelier, going, "I'm ruined."
Yep. But yes, this idiot cop goes, "We cuffed him. He's right over there." And it's the baritone or whatever who's playing Mephisto and he goes, "I'm not the Phantom. I am Mephisto." And the head of the cops looks at the young cop is like, "You idiot."
Well, I just love the idea of, like, there he is, a guy dressed as the devil. Surely he's the one we're after.
And then they at least they underscored it with sad trombone. Wah, wah, wah.
And then he put his head in his hands and did a take to camera. Oh boy.
he looks at the camera and goes, "You see what I have to work with." I don't know why I made him Italian. He's the French head of the cops. All right. And he's the only guy in this movie who is playing a Frenchman, because they're all supposed to be French except for the two Italians.
Right.
But he's an actual Frenchman. So, again, we're thrown. It's like Charles Dance is doing an American accent for some reason, which allows everyone in the cast to have an American or British accent.
Yes.
And then you have an actual Frenchman playing a Frenchman, and they didn't ask him to try to be American.
Jean-Pierre Cassel playing Inspector Ledoux.
Ledoux.
Yeah, who, as I said last week, is actually a character from the Lon Chaney silent film.
Yeah.
I don't know why, out of nowhere, they just decided to go ahead and... Oh, this is Vincent Cassel's father. Oh, shit.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I love Vincent Cassel.
We all do.
He's great, man. Is he still married to Monica Bellucci?
You need to look that up.
No,
we need to get that nailed down.
They divorced. She is currently single.
Monica, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I love you.
How can you not?
Okay, so we'll wait.
Still one of cinema's most stunning actresses.
I mean, when you see her in Spectre, and you're like, you're a woman that's like almost 50.
Yeah.
Or you are 50. Holy bejesus.
Yep.
And did that sound creepy? Yes, but undeniably, everyone in the world loves Monica Bellucci.
She's the first age-appropriate Bond woman for Daniel Craig.
Yep, absolutely.
She is 57 years old, sir.
57
right now.
At this point.
My God, wow.
That is good genetics.
Yeah. Well,
and
Italy,
you can
my
see
friend.
why Dracula made her one of his brides.
Mm-hmm. Those Italians, man, I'm telling you. I mean, Sophia Loren's like 90 and she's still pretty attractive.
That's true. Oh man.
Anyway,
all right.
Not two people not in this.
Two people not in this, and even if they had been,
nope.
I don't think it could have.
Even Sophia Loren couldn't save this thing, man.
She could not save it, and she has powers beyond those of mortal men, but she would not be able to save this.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Philippe, you want to talk about an American in this thing? Philippe is running around going,
Oh, I have to talk about this. Okay, so he notices Christine has been abducted, essentially. So he goes into hero mode, even though the cops are like, no, let us handle this. And he's like, no. And then Burt Lancaster's like, Philippe, don't worry, she'll be safe. And he's like, so he's running. This actor is terrible. And as he runs,
he is the worst actor in this thing, man. And everybody's pretty bad here, but really, this guy stands out. As
he runs, he is with his hand flipping his hair. when he ends up in Christine's dressing room looking, and the cops follow him, he's panicked. He's doing the I'm a panicked guy, but he still tosses his head to flip his hair back. And I'm like, stop it. Stop
Why,
it.
I'm so panicked.
I'm so panicked, but hold on. Whip.
Adam Stork, we've talked about him. I will say, I mean, he's done some stuff, but his last appearance was in 2018 in an episode of Westworld where he played the unforgettable character of Sophisticated Man.
Oh, he was Sophisticated Man?
Yes.
Wow.
The fan favorite Westworld character, Sophisticated Man.
I've got his action figure. I still think it's funny that Westwood actually does have action figures.
Oh, I might own some of those.
Okay, then. I mean, good show, but just...
You think I don't have an Ed Harris action figure in this apartment? Come on.
You think I don't have the entire action figure line of Curb Your Enthusiasm? I love the HBO series of action figures.
Boy, I would buy it, man. In a second, I'd buy a Larry David figure.
Especially if it had a bass with a little button on it when you pressed it, then it would play the theme song.
Yeah. I get him and my other figures to argue with each other.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're over the line in that spot. So the Phantom takes Christine down to what I described as his sweet pad. Actually,
I love how they just keep calling it the down below.
The down below.
It's like, he took her down below.
I love how often the Phantom refers to my lagoon.
Yeah. I hope you like my lagoon.
I looked at this and went, I'd be pretty happy living down here. This is a pretty sweet setup he's got, man.
I think one thing that does need to be addressed, and even Gaston Leroux, who wrote the original novel, didn't really address it, but these vaults underneath the Paris Opera House, the lagoon, is human waste. These are the sewers of Paris.
It doesn't read that way in this, though, does it? It's beautiful.
Sorry, I would love it if she's like,
water.
I will let you train me, but we have to do it upstairs because literally my sinuses are clogged with the smell of excrement.
It looks like a ride at like Disneyland. This
This looks
blue
very
water, and he's taking her through in the gondola.
Oh man!
Oh my God! It's just.
All right, there are plenty of points in both part 1 and part 2 where it's evident that to make this a 3-hour miniseries, they literally said stretch it out.
Yeah.
The trip in Philippe chasing to find her, there was nothing that was added on by having it stretch out.
Nope.
And then the gondola ride, which should be kind of magical, quasi-romantic, mysterious.
You know what helps,
but it
though?
just
singing with the gondola ride. Singing really helps.
Singing with the gondola ride, or maybe some lighting that is eerie, because this does look like a Disney ride. It looks so fake, and all we're seeing is him row it. And they're not even talking at this point. They're just kind of down there, and he's just rowing it like, take a look.
I'm thinking of the lagoon in the play and stuff like that.
I know.
That's very haunting and romantic. And
that's where they sing the Phantom of the Opera song. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da.
I know. Oh my God, I miss that, man. You wonder why this is this is supposedly based on the less successful play version. Gee, I see why.
Yep.
Holy shit!
But also part 2 is where the liberties really start with the source material, and also with many other versions, because in this part 2, the plot hinges on the fact that she does not sing for him. So she wouldn't be singing, because the fact that she turns him down and doesn't sing for him basically kills him.
Oh my god. When the Phantom is dying for no reason.
I just
we gotta get there though. Instead, first he's gonna lay her down in this bed because she's obviously,
you know what I mean,
overcome by whatever's happened here, so she's unconscious at this point.
And then he pulls out, this is what I felt was really, really twisted. He pulls out a Polaroid camera, very anachronistic, and then just starts taking pictures of her asleep. He takes her shoes off, starts taking pictures of her feet and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I didn't know the Phantom was such a fetishist.
I gotta capture these tootsies on film.
This is all
Quentin
supposed to be
The Phantom of the Opera.
This is supposed to be very fairy tale like and romantic, and it's just
because they make it clear. Well, he sings her to sleep.
Holy shit!
His like,
oh, this is what I love. Okay,
he doesn't sing anything in particular. He's just going.
This is what I love, is that this is calling upon Charles Dance to lip sync, but not even in a lip syncing to actual lyrics and stuff is tricky enough.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just basically ahhing, and they still screw it up. There's still like it's not in sync.
This whole production has some of the worst lip syncing I've ever seen in anything.
When he turns the corner of the bed, like he starts and it's close, and you're seeing him lip sync to the ha 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 ha, but when it pulls out and he walks around the bed, his mouth is closed. He's clearly not even trying anymore to lip sync, and yet the ha 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 is still going on. So that cracked me up.
Also, it goes on for a while, and it's really weird that he's not singing anything in particular. This whole scene was awkward.
And you know what the Phantom was never known for?
Yeah.
His voice.
No, that's a weird take on this too, because I am going now. This whole thing I have questions about.
He's a composer. He's a vocal trainer.
Yeah.
He is an excellent organist.
I'm thinking if he has this incredible voice, and he has to wear a mask. Well, you can wear a mask in opera. Couldn't he be an opera star? Probably.
He could, but who never thought of that? The original writer who didn't want him to be a singer.
No, by making him this gorgeous
every other version.
voice singer is a really weird choice and raises all kinds of questions. I just have so many questions. There's so many weird choices in this with the Phantom.
Yep.
The Phantom's characterization in this whole thing is my biggest question mark. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff.
It's the biggest disaster.
Well, because it makes things make no sense. Like it just really it's just baffling the choices they've made with the Phantom character, who continues to be a nebbish figure throughout this thing. And even when he gets angry and threatening for beats, he pretty quickly returns back to his I don't know.
It's just,
jeez, I'm too ugly for Christine to love me.
That's the thing, is that this the Phantom that we all want, that we all know, don't forget there's a horror element. It's not about the poor disfigured man. That's the sub story. That's maybe explaining his madness. But at the forefront is he is not only a mysterious, but he's a threatening figure.
Yes.
Who can be calm and loving one moment and then violently enraged the next.
Yes.
We never get the thing that we want from him. He has no autonomy. He has no agency in this. He seems just to be like, I finally found my angel. She'll live with me forever. And I'll love her. It'll be great.
He needs that obsessed stalker fan kind of mentality,
and
where
also,
it's like, I love you to death.
Yeah. The edge of threat is just gone.
And he's gone insane. Like, that's the idea. Like, the face drove him out of society, and then he has subsequently gone insane, is how I look at the character. He's not inherently a bad guy. But I gotta say, IMDb user Fruit Loop, who called this the greatest version of Phantom ever, says if you're looking for mindless gore and horror, look elsewhere. All right?
You know what, Fruit Loop? I didn't need your suggestion because the second this ended, I looked elsewhere.
Well, and because they're saying if you're looking for that, look elsewhere. But if you are looking for a phenomenal story, incredible cinematography, lavish costumes, superb acting, and all the elements from Phantom of the Opera that you've ever wanted to see wrapped up in imaginative, risk-taking dialogue, see this one.
Hey, Fruit Loop, lose my number.
Yeah. Good Lord, I cannot believe that. That's insane to me. Anyway, I'll keep peppering these in as we go.
Now, I do think please do. Yeah. I do think that it's legitimate that some people, and I will credit the musical with this, some people have really leaned on the romantic part of the story.
Oh, God, yeah.
Without finding the disturbing quality. They see it as a Beauty and the Beast thing. If only it weren't for his terrible disfiguration, the two of them would have been happy forever.
Oh, that has nothing to do with it. The murders, I think, are really what end the,
Yeah, the thing you have to and people get out of it what they want, but I'm sitting there going, Gaston Leroux wanted to write a thriller. The romance is not the focal point of the story. In fact, it's supposed to be disturbing. There's a true romance between Christine and the Count, and that is a fairy tale-like love. The Phantom is the third wheel who is dangerous.
Yes.
And is in love for the wrong reasons. He's obsessed with
Brendan,
artistic aesthetics and all that kind of crap.
You would probably disagree with IMDb user Girl Phantom, who calls this, quote, a great romance story.
Oh man!
And says if you have some free time and you are ready for a good romance with a little bit of action, then pick up this movie.
Jesus,
definitely a love story. And by the way, Girl Phantom, I clicked on. I'm assuming her profile based on Girl Phantom. She only reviews Phantom of the Opera adaptations on IMDb.
Well, you notice that the source we got the 4K version on YouTube is in a playlist by a person who's it's all Phantom stuff.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I was like, wow. Okay, 1964, The Silent, it's all in there.
We talked about this when Elliot was on talking about the Robert Englund version, about the kind of disturbing, like, fetishization, sexualization, crush that particularly it seems like young, mostly goth girls have on the Phantom. I look at it the same way when I meet the comic book fans who moon over the Joker, right? And you're like, whoa,
that's the same thing.
Okay. I mean, it's fine because it's fiction, but it's the definitely indicates you're looking past a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that is. I mean, some people are attracted to the dark, which actually almost all of Gothic literature leaned into, and that's the source of it, is that it's terrifying, but there are elements of some sort of drawn to the mystery and drawn to the misunderstood anti-hero villain.
It's one of the reasons I want to. I don't know if we'll do it on the main feed. We've talked about maybe doing a bonus episode, but I do want to do Andrew Lloyd Webber's Love Never Dies because he just leans into all of that shit in his sequel to Phantom. It basically reads as fan fiction by someone in love with the Phantom. Because the whole thing is we're going to undo the first play and make it that the true love story is Christine and the Phantom, and she was wrong to go with Raoul, who's now a complete villain.
Right.
And you're just going like, whoa, this undercuts the entire point of the original show.
Yep.
It's a disaster.
But I mean, it's the same with Dracula and actually vampires in general. There is a contingent of fans of the supernatural or whatever that find it sexy.
Well, and I think with Dracula, the thing I get about it is he is trying to be sick. He is trying to seduce. That's sort of inherent in the character. Now, then it's the turn of for his own gains, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
There is an idea like this guy's just a fucking weirdo.
He is a dangerous stalker.
Yeah.
But then again, who kills people? But there's also in real life.
Not in this. He doesn't.
I know. Normal people in real life propose marriage to serial killers.
It happens all the time, and that weirds me out, man. That creases. Or like when there were all those Dahmer documentaries, and people start like, "Ooh, Dahmer, baby," and like, "No,
holy
are
shit.
you kidding?" It's like, he was pretty hot actually, and you're like, "Oh, God."
Well, and when the Netflix did the Ted Bundy thing, and then
I'm
suddenly
sorry, not Dahmer,
trending
Bundy.
On Twitter, people going, "Look, I know he was a killer."
That's what it is. I misspoke. It's Bundy, not
Dahmer.
It
wasn't Dahmer. People weren't looking at that bespectacled, Cunningham family offshoot and going, "Oh, look at that guy."
They were when Jeremy Renner played him, though. Am I right? Renner was good as Dahmer, actually. But
Renner's a good actor. He's just goofy.
He's a goofy guy, but a very good actor. Yes, I agree with that.
I mean, he's out there rocking the world.
Yeah,
he is rocking us all.
I mean, it really is the ultimate, like, hey, I'm 45, and it's time to make my rock star dreams come true.
He's doing his Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
I still proudly own The Return of Bruno. No, it's a joke.
Where did Bruno go? That's what I always wondered. That was the first album,
so
The Return of Bruno.
Is like, where was Bruno? Did anyone get postcards from Bruno when he was gone?
Here and he went away? I don't know. Yeah. I love Coming Right Up. That's the one I remember from Return to
Respect yourself. Na 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 na.
Yeah, I don't think there was another Bruno album after that, if I recall.
There was no.
So meanwhile, the cops are searching the tunnels. One guy gets hung.
And they're warned, by the way. They're like, I think
it's Lancaster, isn't it? Or is it the inspector? Because the inspector
inspector says, he goes, we have no choice, but we have to search the down below. However, be warned,
those
no one has come back.
No one has come back. And I'm just going like, well, how many people have been sent down there? Why is the inspector so aware of the Phantom and his dangerous, these always like, no, the Phantom strikes
in the
again.
Case, we brought this up last week. In the case of this version of the story, why is anyone afraid of the Phantom?
Right.
He hasn't killed anyone.
He's just a nervous little nerd with too much opinion about opera.
Though I guess it could be that the people that went down there before that fell into his traps did die. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's what they're saying. It's like, all right, that's why they do fear him. Because other than that, it's just this dude. And there's a point later in this movie where they go, this is proof that the Phantom is a real guy.
That's what happens, because one guy gets hung. We don't see how that happens, but I assume it's a trap, because the Phantom's back with Christine and, past the lagoon.
That's right.
And stuff,
it's all due to traps.
And then when the other guy comes down to cut that guy down, there's a big thing of sharp sticks that swing into him and impale him. And when the inspector comes down, he sees those guys dead and goes, this is not the work of any ghost.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, again, in part one, you literally had Burt Lancaster saying he lives down in the down below.
Yeah,
which means he lives. He's a person.
The movie cannot make up its. And once again, how has he been communicating with people? He's been dropping letters, going and signing them the fan. He never seemed like a ghost.
No.
At what point he sabotaged some props? Must be the work of a ghost.
But I certainly love that he somehow in the Paris Opera House was able to turn it into the Batcave with hidden buttons and swinging doors. And
I mean, I'm on board for Batman fandom if you just want to fully lean into that.
Man, why didn't they tip a bust of Shakespeare back and push a big red button? That's all I wanted.
Burt Lancaster basically does that when he opens up this secret staircase down below.
Lancaster's basically Alfred, except for he's Alfred to a very wimpy Phantom.
Yeah. I know. What if the Phantom did have more of a Batman personality? He's like, I have work to do tonight.
We're supposed to be impressed later on when we find out the tragic origin of the Phantom, but we're supposed to be impressed because he goes, well, even though I took over as head of the opera. And I love the fact that the flashback, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, But in the flashback, young Burt Lancaster's just a dude.
Oh, yeah.
Just a dude fishing and stuff. And I'm like, how did you end up running the Paris Opera anyway?
No attempt to make that guy look like Burt Lancaster in any way. They didn't even try with the casting to come close. That guy doesn't have the same build or face or anything.
They also didn't try to find someone with any acting ability.
Oh, God.
Even though the person never speaks, he's the most
terrible.
Blank-faced wooden anyway. But so he goes, even though I took over as the head of the opera, he goes, it was always Eric. He decided everything.
Down to the smallest prop.
He basically chose the season, all the operas we would do, and I'm like,
don't you want that scene of the two of them like mapping out the season, going, yes, I think we'll do Carmen, and then
and
we'll do Pagliacci. That's a good one for winter. That
also takes away. It's like every decision these guys made, and I don't know to put it on the people who wrote the play version or the teleplay, but every decision they make.
The playwright wrote the teleplay, so it's one guy.
It bleeds the original story of a lot of its points. The Phantom is a creature ultimately of frustration. One thing that the musical got right that is in the book is that he is a brilliant composer, but his work has never been heard. And so he finally is going to present his Don Juan triumphant and all this sort of thing. The idea that in the shadows, he ran the opera house, that's a successful Phantom. That's a Phantom living the dream. So I'm like, what is the fucking point of this thing?
Yeah, no, well, that's the other thing, too. It's another thing where, why does he have to live underground if he's this genius? He could be the mysterious director of the opera. He could actually just be known as a person with a horrible facial deformity. Yeah. As long as people aren't seeing it, it's okay. He wears a mask, it's okay. That, you would think the director of the opera, so eccentric. He's always wearing that mask. Like, so strange, so interesting. Why this guy has to hide? Everything they do, he's such a legitimate person.
Like, what I love about it is you would think that the writers would be aware that that's a sticking point of their story, but instead 85 times Christine and I think Philippe at different points say, why do you live down here? And then asking Burt Lancaster, why does he have to live down there? They literally keep bringing it up, and they never give the good answers. Like, well, he's just so fucking ugly. Just so fucking ugly.
I finally looked here. Arthur Coppett is the name of the guy who wrote the play and this teleplay. And he's a playwright. He'll go on to write the musical 9.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the movie, once again, particularly.
But it was a great success. I'm not a huge fan of it, but
I like some of the
musical version of 8.5.
Yes, the movie's very weird because Daniel Day-Lewis is the star of a musical, and that's a weird choice. Yeah. And the only thing I remember
but he sings like an angel, John.
He was okay in my memory.
Like an angel.
I remember it being kind of long and boring. But the only thing I remember is Kate Hudson singing, "We love the cinema Italiano." You know, you're going like, oh, okay, weird. He also wrote the play that Buffalo Bill and the Indians is based on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I saw that.
A very long career. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he died. He died just a couple months ago this year.
Wow.
In April at 83.
Okay. I mean,
long-time theater guy, but yeah, this was his.
I will just say I hated this. But yes. Buffalo Bill and the Indians is an underrated flick. I
can't say I've seen he didn't write the movie. He wrote the play it's based on.
He wrote the play it's based on.
Yeah. Alan Rudolph and Robert Altman wrote the movie. Maybe more talented guys.
Yeah, but you can tell that Altman had his thumbprints in it.
I also agree, though, that not enough people talk about Buffalo Bill and the Indians when they talk about Altman's films. I
know.
Really
it seems to be weirdly overlooked.
Really
They're
good,
more willing to talk about Popeye.
Which I also think is really good, though.
Well, I love Popeye.
Yeah, I
got no problem, except for the third act, but even then, I'm still on board.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those movies where I'm just it's the whole production of Popeye.
Yep.
I'm just like, wow.
I'm just there.
The commitment.
And Harry Nilsson's music.
Great.
I'm just there.
Great stuff. All right. So while this is all going on, Christine awakes in the Phantom's lair, and she's walking around, and what's this? A giant painting? What's this? Says the narrator of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
A giant painting of Christine?
Thank you, William Dozier.
Yeah.
Dozier, was that the guy?
Yes.
He was the producer, and he also did
He was the showrunner.
Yeah.
Could this be the end of Batman and Robin?
The Caped Crusader is truly in a pickle.
Yeah.
And then you actually see Adam West, and he's in a pickle. That's the kind of thing that they did. But yes, she sees a giant painting of her.
This makes no sense, and we never get it. So she is,
and it's also very creepy because the Phantom has found the true love of his life, who's a dead ringer for his mommy,
and has the same voice. Are we to think this is some kind of reincarnation?
It couldn't be. The timeline doesn't work at all.
Well, how old is the Phantom supposed to be?
Oh, that I guess it might have, because didn't the mother? Did she die in childbirth?
Not in childbirth, but when he was still like an infant, basically.
I didn't get a reincarnation thing. I was thinking family line somewhere, somehow.
Either way, the Phantom isn't going to look into it, and he wants a piece, baby.
Yeah, this is I mean, I don't give this movie credit for anything, but I was sitting there going, that's a creepy turn.
I know. Actually, if the whole vibe of this was creepier, this could work.
Yeah, the fact that he's looking for mommy.
Right.
Also, a big change from the original story in this, when we find out from the origin, is that his mom loved him.
Yes.
And it's a complete switch. The whole idea is that even his own mother in the original story was so horrified, she abandoned him.
Yes. Which further adds to this isolated psychopath. And instead, this movie is doing everything to make this guy well-adjusted.
She thought he was beautiful, loved him, and she passed away. And his father, even though not admittedly, looked after him his whole life.
The Star Wars-y twist of Burt Lancaster.
Oh,
I am your father.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was
when he reveals that to the Phantom just goes, "Yeah, I was wondering when you'd admit to that. I figured that out decades ago."
Yeah. And I thought that the inclusion of talking about his midichlorian count was
very weird. And he's the chosen one who's going to bring balance to the Force. Very strange. Like, what? This could have used anything. I mean, I laughed so hard though when the Phantom just went, "Well, of course you're my father. I figured it out a long time ago." And so, like, even that is not played as any kind of emotional. This is horrible. There were so many times I was watching this yesterday and just going, "This is so dumb." I just kept saying out loud, "God, this is dumb." This is so dumb.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I very nearly turned it off at the picnic scene.
Yeah.
I was like, this is somebody's idea of a movie, and I hated it so much. I was like,
because she finds the painting and then she goes to where the Phantom is, and he's like, "Oh, good, you up? What are we gonna do today? Like, what's on the docket?" I was thinking maybe a nice picnic. Then I could show you around the lagoon.
And we're really not paraphrasing too much.
No, I'm just giving him Woody Allen's voice. But
I thought we might have a picnic.
Yeah.
Let me go fetch my straw boater. I was like,
oh my god! When he put that hat on and he goes, and of course a walking stick, very gentlemanly.
This movie. Fuck it so hard.
And then it's like, once again, did they think this was creepy and weird? Like the idea that he has his own fake forest with fake forest creatures.
And Christine plays along like, "Oh, this is so lovely." Yeah. And she is falling for him right up to the time she takes that mask off.
This is from when we did a production of Into the Woods.
Jesus Christ, I hated this.
It's so bad. And this is where she goes, well, won't you show me your face? Okay, now I want to get into the disfigured face here. We don't see it, right? That's kind of key. But just based on the mask and the way it's so tight on him, right?
Yeah.
What could be wrong with his face? Because it's not an Elephant Man disfigurement kind of thing, right? Because that would would
change the
shape of his face is very human, which means it's either a color or a scarring kind of issue, and that reads as weird to me.
Well, it could also be a lack of nose. In fact, that is something that is mentioned in the book.
That would be
so
something.
He could just have a hole.
I will say though, this movie's decision not to show his face, I think, is a huge problem, because it really makes me go, well, what does it look like? And not in like a tantalizing kind of way. In a
this is what I'll say is in the flashbacks when we see little boy Eric walking around
and
with
his face is like red.
It's what looks like, I swear to God, because it's from a distance. You don't get a good look.
Right. But that further adds bafflement to me on what his face looks like.
It does look red, but also he has these two what look like enormous pustules, like enormous cysts where his cheeks are.
Yes.
It looks like tomatoes are literally popping out of his... And I'm like, well, that is horrifying. Actually, as a teenager, I did suffer from cystic acne, which is not your normal acne. It does swell entire parts of your face. I had to take the drug Accutane to fix that. So look, I relate to the Phantom feeling like a hideous creature.
I'm gonna faint when I see your face, though.
I did stay home from school a couple of times when it was really bad, but still,
sure. But it's not like, oh dear God.
Yeah, she literally, and this is really not a good look on Christine, because in the original story, in the silent movie, even in the musical,
the unmasking
the whole
of the
idea
Phantom is iconic. Right?
It's iconic.
Yeah.
Is that she has won his trust to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
She is drawn to him, is intrigued, and the thing is that she basically takes advantage of this to sneak up, because how bad could it be?
Right.
And she yanks the mask off, and it is horrifying. She doesn't faint dead away.
Yeah.
It leads literally to then the Phantom saying, "Are you pleased now? Is this what you wanted to see? And let me tell you my horrible story." That's where the origin comes up in all the other versions.
I still stand by that no makeup has been as effective as the Lon Chaney. Not even close. None of them have been as close or as iconic. And still, I'm not saying that I'm terrified by that sound, but it's unsettling. It's still creepy. It's
the only reason that the half mask has now become sort of this default thing for Phantom is because of the musical. And the only reason that the Phantom in Lloyd Webber's musical has a half mask is that they were worried about the audience being able to see some emotion on the actor's face.
And I think in the singing as well. I mean, I think I think the half mask is a really cool design.
It's a cool design, but in the original and all the other versions, it's a pretty much full, except for sometimes the mouth is exposed, like in this one. But
this one is even weirder because it's also got the cut eyes, where we've talked about that he's painted in, which further adds to what could be wrong with this face. The fact that we can see the skin around his eyes, even if he's painted it, is further example of how odd the treatment of his facial disfigurement is.
I know that they were sitting there going, dudes, this will be great. It's all up to the audience's imagination. We're not going to show that face, but it'll all be in her reaction.
Which is a take, but it doesn't work here.
But not if the entire film up to this point has been so fucking flat.
Yeah.
There is nothing artistic or interesting that's going to juice this movie. There's nothing.
God. And then what's the Phantom's reaction? She faints. He goes, "Oh, I knew it. I knew this. Ugh, ugh." And he punches a plastic deer.
Yeah,
God.
And then when she does come back to consciousness, he's done a full on like fit.
Yeah,
where he's pulled down some of the scenery and stuff and stomped on it.
No, I can't with this. Oh, my one chance. Oh.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I guess she's not going to love me. That's it.
I got to imprison her. There's no choice. In the cage you go.
God, this is a terrible version.
He puts her in a cage. I don't know to what end, though, really.
Where else do you put women? Oh! It's a joke. Yeah. That's a joke.
It's a joke. Too late. Canceled. You're canceled, Brendan. So.
Oh, I was being purposefully insensitive.
Oh, no. They canceled you. That's why I say everything.
You have to actually be running to be canceled. So no one knows I exist.
You don't know my name or what I look like. So,
that's right.
Yeah. So let's see. I think we've jumped over because we got to talk about the detective Phantom figuring out that Carlotta had sabotaged the drink she gave Christine.
It's all stretched out nonsense. He just goes to to Christine's dressing room, sniffs at the glass that she drank
from. Weren't you waiting for him to take it down to the Phantom computer though and run some tests on it?
Oh, Jesus.
Why, yes. A substance I haven't seen before. Adam West is the Phantom. I'm here for it.
Sure.
I mean, he can't be any worse than Dances in this.
No.
Yes, Christine was poisoned.
This take is so bad. And then we see him grab a suitcase.
Oh my God. I laughed very hard at this. Is this supposed to be scary?
Well, it's scary enough to fucking make Carlotta lose her fucking mind. For the whole rest of the show, she's insane.
I felt so bad for this actress having to play these really... God.
Here's the thing. So Carlotta's... They've announced they're going to go back and do Faust. Now Carlotta's clearly going to do the lead. The female lead of Margarita. And... So she's in her dressing room feeling pretty great. Then the Phantom just walks in.
Very
and she's like,
casual.
Very casual with a suitcase. Yeah. And he goes, she's like, what do you want? I mean, she knows this is the Phantom, but she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I brought you something. And he opens up the suitcase, which is full of living rats.
Yeah.
He tosses them on her. These are actual living rats tossed on this actress, so I do feel bad for her.
Yes.
But it's so artistically shot and all this, and
he's just dumping it out. And his one-liner.
His one-liner is
some rats for a rat.
Yeah, he goes, that's right, rats for a rat. She's writhing on her little couch going, rats are on me.
Also, the way he dumps it out, it seems like she could either dodge it or get the rats off pretty quickly.
And I will say this, rats will skitter away.
Yeah. Yes.
Unless you've trained them or starved them.
Yes.
They're not going to bite. They're just going to scatter.
Get her, my pets.
And also, again,
attack my rats.
Her dressing room, just like the rest of this movie, her dressing room is lit full TV lighting. This isn't 1860s.
Everything in this movie is lit like that.
Yeah, it's not gaslight in a lantern or something. It is just full on.
Nothing evocative, nothing stylistic ever. The fact that person mentioned gorgeous cinematography. Where? Point me one shot that's remotely interesting in this thing. There's not
even
at
the end when you have the Phantom in his billowing cloak on the roof of the Paris Opera. It is framed in ways you're like, yeah, okay, there's a guy standing up there. I hope he doesn't slip.
I could imagine a version of this with a better director where we went, the script is terrible, but there's some cool images in it or something like that. Because there's
even so, I don't know.
There's some opportunity, is what I'm saying, though, to have done some stuff with the camera.
But when you have a castrated Phantom who's no killer,
no,
and is actually fairly well psychologically because he was loved and cared for his whole life, he's just so ugly.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on. I gotta read this review from Floating Opera 7. The visuals and cinematography are top-notch, effectively creating the 19th century Paris opera environment, complete with the world of ballerinas, costume makers, patrons, singers, and managers. What? Where? I mean, yes, those things are in it, but from a lighting standpoint, as we just brought, they've really effectively... I feel transported.
I will say this: they very effectively just turned on the literally 20th century lighting, the electrical lighting that's all over the building, and then they doubled it with, of course, the lighting you'd need for the cameras filming, which makes these places totally shadowless and unevocative of anything. It is bright sitcom lighting for this entire fucking movie.
Oh boy, hold on. This review gets crazier. The Phantom here is portrayed as a sympathetic and tragic figure, not a terror of the opera, which is the closest to the original concept of author Gaston Leroux. This is the same kind of Phantom we get in the Lloyd Webber musical. No, it's not. Either of those things.
Where are they? Where?
This is somebody.
Did they read? I've read the book. What are you fucking talking about?
Oh, remember how he just caused some minor grievances for people in the book?
Yeah, that's why the book, the story has lasted so long, because the Phantom is a well-rounded guy who, you know, some people accidentally stumble into things he did.
He's
an up-and-up murderer.
He's one of literature's most beloved scamps.
God damn it, these people are... Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know these people. I don't want to make any judgments, but they watched something else. They read something else.
The review... These are the... I'm reading the ones that are trying to speak very... what is the word I'm looking for? Like they're completely right. Like, they're being objective about it, is I guess what I'm saying. Because it's one thing to go, I liked it. Well, I can't argue with you if you liked it. But when you're saying this is the closest take to the Leroux novel, that's just not true.
Yep.
Like, that's demonstrably false. Here's somebody who liked it but hated they didn't make Fleet more of a hero. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah.
At no point is he the guy wielding the gun or trying to take down the Phantom.
No, Burt Lancaster's gonna pack heat though by the end of this thing. Oh,
Daddy
baby.
kills son. That could be dramatic.
Yeah, might have been.
But no, not.
But then, yes, once Christine rejects him, we have to talk about the Phantom dying of heartbreak, losing the will to live, and developing a cough.
All right, here's the thing.
With these scenes,
we have skipped over the origin part, or have we not gotten there yet?
No, we're about right there. Is what we're getting.
But yes, Christine has a vision, which that's interesting enough.
Yeah.
But she has a vision that the Phantom, because she refused to sing for him, is dying.
Yeah.
This is, again, a weird, like, where is this concept coming from? And she feels terribly guilty. So here's the thing, and she does run to whatever his name is, Burt Lancaster's character, who has been the caretaker of the Phantom this whole time. But so what's weird to me is Christine at this point, it does feel sympathetic for the Phantom, is worried about his health. She's had this vision. She wants to know more about him and how she can help him. And yet, after the origin, all that stuff, she approaches the police and goes, I have an idea of how to catch him.
Yes. Well, he puts her in that cage and she escapes immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like instantly she's out of there.
And also upstairs. While she's in the cage, she also sees not just the portrait, but she sees like an old-timey photo of the same woman that's her, but not her.
She also puts on a dress that's on a mannequin, which I don't fully understand.
It's the dress that was in the painting.
Yes, it was. But I'm saying, why did she put it on? That's what gets me.
Because she's just been walking around in her costume from Faust the whole time, and she's like, "This is pretty."
I'll put on a dead woman's dress.
You know, ladies.
You know them ladies. They always gotta look right.
I mean, that's as far as the screenplay thought of it. It's like she sees it, it's pretty, and it's in the painting, so that's
you know how women always take forever to get ready, right? Can't choose an outfit. There's also some early '90s stand-up material on gender in here that really hasn't aged well. And so meanwhile, Lancaster's explaining the whole story to the Phantom about his romance with Terry Polo previously.
Well, here's the deal, because Christine's like, why is he like this? What happened to his goddamn face? Which is, this language is very strong.
Very strong.
And Burt Lancaster goes on to talk about the first time I heard your voice, it was like an echo from the past. And when I saw your face, I was stunned because you look just like her. And I'm going to tell you this long story, which adds nothing to it, of me as a strapping young guy who has no expressions on his face. And the time I ran across, this is Terry Polo doing a French accent or some kind of accent.
I know. And I feel bad for, it's not her fault. She's just not, this is not a good use of Terry Polo, who, like we've talked about, is very good in other things.
So basically, he's just a young guy, and he sees this woman, and she's also from simple background, but she has a beautiful, well, he doesn't know it yet, but he's like, she could have had anyone in the world, but she chose me to fuck, is essentially what he says. And they get busy, and after they get busy, she starts to sing, and he's like, oh my God, that voice. And she goes, I love to sing, but I'll only sing for you. The people I love. I don't sing for the public.
Oh,
I know, it's so adorable. And he goes, but then I told her she was stupid and convinced her to try out for the opera.
So anyway, I said, you're a real dumb bitch. And she just...
Women, am I right? Yeah. And then he turns into Andrew Dice Clay.
These broads are walking around that head. Hey!
Hickory dickory dot. All right, anyway, So anyway, he convinces her to try out, and she becomes a huge opera star. This is what I think is hilarious.
Yeah, she was the toast of Paris.
Yes, this could only have happened 25 years ago, 30 maybe at the most.
Right.
If she was the toast of Paris, and the biggest opera star, and she looked exactly like and sounded exactly like this unknown who shows up 25 years later, people would have talked about it. It would have been known. Because this is not in a different city. It's in the same city. People go, holy shit, a doppelganger of that famous opera star we loved 20 years ago just showed up.
Right. Yes.
So it's not like the wife was obscure. She was famous.
The toast of Paris.
Toast of Paris. But then
it's another thing. We've seen this in a lot of movies where something that happened 20 years ago, people act like it happened 150 years ago.
I know. Never heard of this in their lives. Yeah. But she gets knocked up and they're not married. So she goes, hey, I went to the doctor this morning. I'm all knocked up. And he's like, oh. And she goes, we should get married. And he's like, I would love to, but
I'm already married.
Already married. I came to Paris a married man, he said. He goes, then he explains that boring story for 15 minutes. He goes, yeah, I married a woman I didn't love because she got knocked up. I apparently knock women up is what I do.
Hey,
so I married
my boys can swim, baby.
And he goes, but I didn't love her. She knew that. So we agreed to not live together anymore, but we were Catholic, so I couldn't divorce her.
You've got to love that Terry Polo then immediately tries to drown herself. Instantly.
Well, you got to be clear when you're saying Terry Polo. You are talking about
past Terry Polo. It's why I'm not saying Christine. I don't know if they say the Phantom's mother. That's why I'm saying he did give her a name, but I can't remember what it was. It was something. She's also not credited as the two parts on IMDb, just Christine. So, but yeah, I just like that with that information, she just stands up and walks right into the water.
Well, no, okay, so he says he told her that information, but when we cut back to the past, it's this weird shot where he's literally just sitting and fishing on the bank of the Seine, and then you've got not Christine, the old Terry Polo from the old days, walks away from him, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? Because again, the look on his face, there's nothing there. He's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
She walks down the ways, and then she walks into the river to drown herself.
Yeah.
And then he still doesn't look like, oh, no, this actor is terrible. He just gets up and starts running. He pulls her out, and they still don't get married, but she goes to a traveler.
Yes. Oh, God. Oh, my God. This
is like sign language, because we need to make it clear in the flashbacks there's no dialogue.
Which someone actually brought up in their review going, I loved it, but I wish the younger versions of them had dialogue.
Yeah,
I don't know that I need young Burt Lancaster to have dialogue, because I don't think it could have helped. Jesus.
Burt Lancaster's narrating the whole thing, except for a couple of things where Terry Polo speaks with the old accent.
Well, because they're like,
weird.
she can talk. She's an actress, unlike
yeah, exactly. He is nothing. He's got some glued on mutton chops that cracked me up. Yeah. But anyway, so she goes to a woman in it, and she's got her caravan, and she does sign language like, here's my tummy, here's my tummy getting bigger, as in pregnancy, and then she's like, don't want to. She shakes her head like, don't want to be pregnant. And then the traveler woman goes, I gotcha, and gives her an abortion potion.
Very very prescient.
Except it's not. They can't do that in Texas anymore.
Yeah, except it's no more abortion potions from travelers.
The Romani are no longer allowed to peddle abortion.
Which I will say, I'm as pro-choice as the next guy. Maybe a good call to not have abortion potions from travelers.
So what I like is she walks off, downs it immediately while she's walking. Meanwhile, old Burt Lancaster, the stand-in, runs up and he's like, what did you just give her? This is all in like silent movie acting.
What was that shit, huh?
And it's like, oh, there's the bottle. And then he sees his lady, Terry Polo. She immediately gets violently ill, and he runs over to grab her. It was a dramatic photo play in 5 minutes of terrible broad act
as I've ever seen visual storytelling.
We are led to believe that perhaps this abortion potion is what disfigured Eric in the womb.
I was hoping it was going to be the 2 seconds she was underwater, and that was enough to do.
I thought they were going to try to imply that. I was like, I've held my breath in the bathtub longer than that. So, but then again,
the child was deprived of oxygen for half a second, and now his face is hideous.
No, it's the abortion potion that done it. So basically, we then have the birth.
At all. It just gave him a weird face.
And what was his explanation of why he took her down below to give birth?
I don't know. He just says I took her to the quickest, most out of the way place, I think is what he says.
I think it's because she is already a famous opera singer at this point, right? And he couldn't, and she's not married. Right. That's probably it. To hide her shame.
And the way he tosses off, and it's like, well, anyway, he goes, she gave birth to the most hideous fucking thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. But she just couldn't see it, man. She thought it was a beautiful baby, and who was I to ruin that fantasy for her?
I know, it's hilarious. He's basically saying, like, that thing is a fucking uggo. But she thought of it as her angel.
Yeah. And so we lived down there for a while, and he goes, and then I think he really does go, like, she got an illness and died. Like, it's so just like, something happened to her. I don't know.
She loved him, and she sang to him, so he still remembers her voice. And he had all the painting and all that stuff. So he has romanticized this version of his mother. And Burt man, they keep bringing up angels all through this and that's them tying into the source material, the angel of music stuff and all that.
Brendan, it's a motif.
But you have Burt Lancaster going, she was the best thing in my life, almost like an angel sent to me. And he goes, and perhaps she really was.
Yeah.
An angel.
She birthed the devil. Well, no, he's just kind of a nervous, ugly kid. But
that birth,
because he goes, after she died, he goes, I thought I'd just leave the baby down there to die. That would be best for all.
I know.
And then he's like, but I stupidly decided to take care of it. Ah!
Oh, I gotta say this. As far as origin stuff, this is their version of young Bruce falling into the cave and all the bats flying around him. He goes, after his mother died, Eric wailed and cried for weeks and weeks on end.
Oh my God.
And he goes, that traveled upstairs, which is where the myth of the opera ghost began. It was the wails of young kid Eric.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Hey, John, you know what I hate?
What's that?
This entire movie.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. We're almost
I
done.
hate everything about it.
We're almost done, I feel like.
Oh my God.
Where are we here? Yeah. Oh, Burt Lancaster and Philippe take her out of. They're like, we got to get her away from the Phantom.
Yes.
And let's speed her to. I don't know where. They put her in a coach and speed her somewhere where she's now recovering in a bed.
Yeah.
From her ordeal.
Yeah. You'd have to.
And this is where she comes up with the plan.
Again, it's a weird twist. She feels sympathy. She feels guilty. She feels that if only she had sung for him. So where she suddenly goes, oh, I got an idea of how to capture him. How is that helping him?
Oh, and then we also get this. I mean, boy, this guy, the writing and the acting is terrible here. Philippe going to Burt Lancaster, she loves him, doesn't she? And he goes, in a way, yeah. And he's like, God damn it! Oh, I knew it.
And he says, well, making sure that his hair is perfect, flipping it back.
I gotta just tousle my hair. I'm so upset.
My gorgeous locks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And he goes, well, she loves him, but he's in the friend zone, man. It's okay. It's not gonna be. It's because he keeps saying not the way she loves you, like not in a horny way.
In other words, she loves his spirit, his soul. Yeah. She feels a connection, but she does not want to bone him.
No.
She's hot for you with your perfect hair.
His hair is so perfect. How could she?
And his face very pretty.
Oh, I guess, this guy is very boring to me.
Yeah, because there is nothing there.
Well, I'll tell you though. I want to talk about Sassatelli 25144. Who called this movie... I was
afraid you would.
Called this movie brilliant. And this one this one really goes over the top to me. As a child of the millennium, I always thought the 2004 version, which is that's the Schumacher for those who would be my favorite and my forever version. Until the day I tripped on this one. It is not LaRoe's version. It is not Andrew's luxurious. By the way, first name basis with
he's
Lord
pal
Weber,
with Sir Andy, and that's all right. God
it is not Andrew's luxurious musical version. It is something else. While it doesn't look as visually stunning as the musical, it has more depth and more development to it. You can watch and rewatch and never really get tired of it. Charles Dance.
Oh no, I'm done.
Charles Dance made a unique Phantom, charismatic with a particular sense of humor and a lot more feeling than the Weber version. Sorry, I can't get past that line. More personal history and background, too, for all of the involved characters. For Charles Dance's performance alone, this movie deserves spotlight.
Oh, my God.
By the way, I just love the idea.
And our reactions are coming from people who genuinely love Charles Dance, who's an amazing actor.
Dance
is an embarrassment to his career.
This is one of the worst things I've ever seen him do. He's almost always amazing and stuff, really.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And when he said watch over and over, I am actually going to go to the Institute from Unbearable Lightness. No, wait. The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Different place.
To have this
I'm going to go to that institute and have this movie removed.
Yeah.
I can't. I would never watch this again.
I successfly had this movie removed, but I can't forget Kate Winslet.
I know. That's the thing. Who can't?
Yeah. How about this person? Le Boss un Fantôme. Who says this version of the classic tale will break your heart. Every person I know who has seen this film has cried through the entire second half.
Holy fuck. Holy
boy,
fuck.
I never even came close to feeling five emotions before I cried. I'm saying, I didn't even come close to beginning to be anywhere near crying. Jesus Christ.
Let's really ruin him by reaching out to him just to become his friends, and then let him know that we hate it and never cried, so therefore he has to remove that statement. Because then he'll be like, everyone I know, except for these two guys who catfished me.
Except for two heartless bastards in Portland, Oregon.
I am an easy touch, man.
Me too.
I will well up at anything.
Right
I
here.
well up if it's
I
done
cried
well.
through the whole end of Top Gun Maverick, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, dude, I felt it. Like I
teared up at the end of Avengers Endgame.
Oh God, yeah.
I do every time I rewatch it.
A lot of the Marvel movies get to me, but Jesus Christ, this thing, you can't. How could you feel any emotion for these characters? My God.
This is so wrong that there are defenders. Not only defenders, but lovers of this.
I know, it's crazy, and there's more, but we'll see if I get. But Jesus Christ. Anyway,
all right. So the plan that she came up with is apparently we'll redo Faust, and I will appear and finally sing well.
Yeah,
and that will lure him. It'll heal him because he wanted to hear me sing.
Yeah.
So they do. They put on Faust.
Well, and the Phantom's real depressed, and how do we know he's real depressed? Because he puts on a crying clown mask. Oh, dear God. I laughed very hard at that when he's looking in the mirror, and he's put on a mask of a clown crying.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Like Pagliacci.
Yes, I figured this probably from the opera's production of that.
So... Yes, this is ludicrous, of course, and then
he's dying. Burt Lancaster comes down here, and he's so close to death. He goes, "Please promise you'll find the proper burial for me."
Oh, this is weird.
I don't want anyone. I don't want anyone gazing upon my dead body like a freak.
And then his father, and now he's known that he's his father. He goes, I promise you, I'll bury you. I'll bury you here. I'll bury you deep. No one will ever find you.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Hey, would you do me another favor? Would you shoot me in the heart? Great.
Yeah. So, yeah, oh God, we're close to that because suddenly he's fully revived when he hears Christine singing in the opera, right?
Yes, her voice travels all the way down.
Yeah.
So he hears her singing, and all the music you're hearing, that's Gounod's Faust. That is the opera, and we get a big chunk of it at the end. And so not only is he revived, he makes his way up to box 5, which was left open for him because that's part of the plan. Here's another part of the plan that he doesn't know. There's like 85 policemen in the opera hanging out, too.
What is this plan? They're going to arrest him? For what?
They're going to arrest him or shoot him on sight,
Why?
which is what essentially they do.
Why?
Christine, how did you think that was going to help your old buddy Eric?
Yeah,
But anyway.
Here's the thing. I don't understand the idea of, this guy's such a fucking menace. We got to take this son of a bitch out.
Well, he's responsible, even if he did not do it. But he's responsible for the death of a few people.
Well, no, because I understand you could arrest him, but why is it like, no, this son of a bitch has got to die. We got to put him in the ground. And actually, if that's the plan... He was dying. Let him die.
Yeah, there's that. Well, I'll also say this. To answer your question in the easiest way possible, why did they have to shoot him? Why does he have to die? Have you seen that motherfucker's face?
Yeah, oh, hideous.
I mean, he is
Kill it.
Ugly.
Send it to hell where it belongs.
Send it to hell. Burn it with a fire.
Well,
anyway.
And then he starts singing. It becomes a duet with her on stage and him. This is very silly. This is very silly.
This is actually I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn.
Uh-oh.
I saw a wonderful viral video, which is worth looking up on YouTube, of a woman who was giving a recital, an actual opera singer, and this is a famous duet from Faust, and she was doing it solo because I can't remember what the story was. Her partner for that one song, she wasn't in Faust. She was just doing the aria, this duet.
Right, yeah.
And her partner was ill or something. And so she was just singing her part. Someone in the audience.
It was Charles Dance. It was beloved British character actor Charles Dance.
Who was just there to see it, but was an opera fan and had a good voice. Stood up in the crowd and sang back to her, and they turned it into just did the duet. At the end, the audience is like clapping, and she's like, putting her arms out like, thank you, that's so wonderful, thank you. And it's very heart-touching, and it's beautiful.
And then they shot him to pieces.
Then they shot him to pieces when he tried to grab her and take her onto the roof.
Well, I do like, so he starts singing, and one of the cops aims his gun, and Inspector Ledoux just goes, no, not yet. Let him finish the song.
It is true. This is supposed to be, this is where whoever that writer of The View, no doubt was weeping.
Yeah.
Because not only is the Phantom's spirit revived, and she's singing right to him, he does join her. He sings the part, and apparently he has this beautiful voice, even though his mouth doesn't quite match the words. And then, and it's supposed to be, this is his triumph. Because the audience, when the song does finish, and the cops haven't shot him yet, the audience erupts in applause, not for Christine, but for the Phantom.
Which I then thought was a very strange choice to then start shooting at him.
Yeah, it's like, you know what's weird? He's the guy who dropped a chandelier on some of our friends, but listen to that voice, so they applaud him.
You know what might have been
and then the cops shoot at him.
You know what might have been a smarter tactic is get up behind that booth while everyone's applauding. Just go in and grab him.
Yeah, or you could have John Wilkes Boothed him right there. His back's turned. He doesn't hear the door open.
Could you imagine if that was the end of this thing? He's taking the applause, all of a sudden, boom, he gets shot through the head, and he's just dead. Credits.
Yeah, and then the policeman leaps down the stage and says, "Sic semper tyrannis." It makes no sense.
That's right. I had political issues with that Phantom, and he's dead now.
Death to all tyrants of the opera.
Yeah. He was controlling this opera the whole time. I'm a hero. Jesus Christ.
No, it is a
instead they take a bunch of shots and they're just firing wildly into this crowded.
Yeah, he doesn't get. They don't hit him. When he's in the booth, they shoot like 3 times. He doesn't get wounded because they're bad shots.
Then he leaps down onto the stage and grabs Christine. And I thought for a second, oh, did this skip back to the beginning when he grabbed her during the show? Because it's the same shot.
It's the same shot. And it is remarkable how these cops are willing to jeopardize Christine. You expect to have like Ledoux or someone to go, no, you'll hit her.
Yeah.
No, they are taking pot shots the whole way. As they run up the staircase to the roof, they are shooting and shooting.
Old 1800s pistols that are not known for their accuracy either.
Or multiple shots.
No, we're in late 1800s. They would have had revolvers.
They are revolvers.
At this point.
Okay.
Yeah, they're so they've got 6-shooters. We did see before the opera started. We did see Burt Lancaster pull a gun out of his desk and put it in his pocket. Which, as soon as he did that, I'm like, he will be the one who kills the Phantom with that gun.
Yeah, I know. Well, they telegraphed that nicely. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I like my movies spoon-fed to me.
So they
Plots are too much.
They chase
trouble.
him up onto the roof of the opera. The Roger Ebert theory of the climbing villain. Here we go. Why he doesn't go down to his, I guess, all right, whatever. It doesn't matter. We got to finish this somewhere else. So we're up on the roof. And Philippe, I keep wanting to call him Raoul because that's who he should be. Philippe is chasing after them. And does the Phantom have a sword or a cane or a walking stick or something here?
I think it's a sword cane because it's very thin. But he whips that out and he's swinging it around.
He's swinging it at Philippe. And she's going, please, God, don't kill him.
Philippe slips and ends up hanging off the edge of the roof.
You got to paint this picture. Dangling perilously off the roof.
He is dangling perilously. And the Phantom's like, man, I don't have to do much of anything. I just stomp on his fingers.
And Christine is going,
but he's like, no, please don't, no.
And so he reluctantly brings him back up.
Yeah, he helps him up because Eric's a softie in the end.
And then out of nowhere, the cops now have their guns on him, and Ledoux all of a sudden goes, no, we want him alive. When was that the strategy?
Now
Burt Lancaster takes out his gun and aims it, and you just see the Phantom nod like, yes, do it, take me out.
I guess the idea here is. And it's just poorly handled. We got the speech between him and his dad, and it's like, look, I guess if they take him alive, or even if they shoot him and the cops have the body, there's a possibility he will go on display as some freak corpse.
Yes. No, I think that is
so
the
instead,
idea.
The Phantom gives his dad the okay, and Burt Lancaster caps him, shoots him through the chest.
Lancaster, hell of a shot there, man. He's got like
a hell.
He's got that's like a small maybe like a 22 I mean, or a 32 maybe at the most, little, like purse gun basically.
Yep, and he gets him right through the heart.
He takes him up from the ground up to the roof and snipes him one shot right through the heart, which causes, of course, a stunt guy to leap off of one part of the roof.
Yes.
And fall to the
then
ground.
Lancaster's cradling his dead son's body, and the cops are like, "Hey, we'll take it from here." He's like, "No, leave him be." And they're like, "All right, we'll leave you with the corpse of the guy we wanted to get."
Yeah, whatever, man. Your problem now.
And then Philippe and Christine walk off the roof.
Yeah,
not
Christine
off the roof,
seems very distraught, and Philippe just holds his hand out, and she takes it, and he embraces her.
Yeah,
and we're all like, I guess all is right again.
Roll credits. Fuck this movie.
Yeah, it's over, man. It's over.
All right.
I do want to leave us with one last review.
Okay.
This comes to us from IMDb user Robin Lynn. The review is titled "Romantic, Enthralling, and Beautiful." In my opinion, this is the most moving interpretation of Gaston Leroux's novel that I have ever seen on either stage or screen. Although fans of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical will certainly disagree, and violently at that, I have never found that any other Phantom movie, play, or musical is capable of stealing hearts the way this interpretation is. This movie is in fact based upon a musical, which is far lesser known than the Webber version, although none of the songs from this musical appear in the movie. The strength of this interpretation comes from its title character, Eric, the Phantom of the Opera, played by the magnetic and dashing Charles Dance. Although this movie suffers from several needless plot revision, i.e. Eric's father continues to maintain contact with him. Christine bears a striking likeness to Eric's mother, along with a heavy dose of comedy, entertaining but not particularly critical to the plot. Charles Dance's Eric is so passionate and sensual that as a viewer I could not help but be swept away by his charm and moved by his unfortunate fate. I would recommend this movie to any fans of the Phantom story, and also to anyone looking for 4 hours of decadent and tragic gothic romance. Don't expect to see a vengeful and frightening Phantom, but instead await an Eric you may fall in love with.
That's about as wrong.
Yeah, I saved that one for the end purposely because I thought that was very crazy review.
All right, well,
it does acknowledge the needless plot revisions and the needless comedy, but it doesn't matter because they fucking love Charles Dance so much.
What were the 3 words at the top of the review that
they were romantic, enthralling, and beautiful.
Okay, so there was a word that kept popping up in my mind throughout all of part 2, and actually it was probably lurking in the background when I was watching part 1, and that word was insipid. And in my mind, I was like, maybe that's not the right. I'm gonna look up the definition. Okay, so I was like, because I know that word. I looked it up, Oxford, and it says adjective lacking flavor, also lacking vigor or interest.
Yeah.
What surprised me was
dead on.
And then underneath that it said "See, Phantom of the Opera, NBC, 1990." I was stunned that the word that had popped in my brain is actually officially connected to this version of Phantom of the Opera.
This movie is the definition of insipid.
It lacks color. It lacks any interest. There is no reason to watch it. Even if you're the world's biggest Charles Dance, Terry Polo, or Burt Lancaster fan, skip it.
Skip it. This is a low point for all of these talented people.
I love this story, but it really has been done best twice so far, because I don't claim to have seen every version.
Right.
But the silent version, and love it or hate it, the musical of Andrew Lloyd Webber, and I'm talking the musical, not the musical film. Pretty much nailed all of the things that work in the original story. It is a really great gothic, and you could put romance on there, but you can't leave out the murder, horror, and mystery of it.
I think
if you do, you've missed the fucking point.
Well, I think it is a romance, but it's a romance between Raoul and Christine, not between the Phantom.
Oh, I think it's also, but it's a mirror story of
yes. But it's a
pure real and in a dark, twisted
obsession,
romance.
No, it's a thriller at its core. Is very much what it is, and it's a good one, and it is obviously such a dramatically meaty story that it can be told time and time again, as we've talked about, to various effects. There's a lot of fan-made compilation videos of this. This has a lot of fans, this version. What I was trying to find is I cannot find anything of Charles Dance talking about this, though. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for where's like an interview with Charles Dance, or even
it really needs to be like an AV Club random rolls where he has no choice but to talk about it because they go, we have to talk about Phantom of the Opera.
And he's a guy.
Because he's not going to bring it up on his own.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like this only aired twice ever on television, and looking through his career, you know, he's done 800 other things after it, so I think he's just left it in the rearview mirror, man.
Well, he should.
As he should, and like we talked about, this is so early in Terry Polo's career that it doesn't. I don't think it does anything for her, and she goes on to get famous from other stuff. And Burt Lancaster's dead pretty soon, and so is the director. So
it's much more easy to forgive Burt Lancaster coasting because he's coasting, and it's easier to forgive a brand new actress doing what her director is telling her to, which is probably he did. I just can tell that he wanted as a tone this sort of heightened thing. So he has her acting like a princess in a fairy tale, constantly like, oh, ah, bah, bah. So I don't put the blame on her. Dance was already an established actor, and I bet he rankled at what he was being asked to do here.
I hope so. I can only imagine. He's such a talented guy who knows this had to be shit.
Yeah.
I hope he was well paid, as I hope everyone in this was at least well paid.
That is all we can hope. Because this is garbage. All right.
Yeah.
We didn't like it.
We did not. Let's move past it. We're done with it. 2 weeks devoted to it. Next week we return to Frankenstein, and this time we get Roger Corman's take on the classic monster.
Oh, we're there,
Frankenstein Unbound. Yes, Frankenstein. I have never seen this version. Good cast.
I've seen it in part.
Good cast.
I think it is a good cast. It's weird. But what a palate cleanser from this.
I will say what I can say is moving from this to a Corman thing, I can stand for some schlock. You know what I mean? Like I can I can take that, and also I can definitely stand for some Raul Julia. I love that man. I love that man as well.
R.I.P.
I just watched Presumed Innocent again the other day. What a great performance in that.
Yeah.
He's great. He was great in everything. And so him as Dr. Frankenstein, bring it on. That is what I want to say. We've got John Hurt, we've got Bridget Fonda. Oh,
yep.
Man, another absolute stunner of this time period, Bridget Fonda.
Ooh, huge crush did I have
totally
on Bridget Fonda.
Yeah, I mean, going from Terry Polo to, oh my God. Hang on, I'm just looking at what Bridget Fonda looks like. A shock of very, very blonde hair in this that they've put on her. And a very crazy take on the monster design. So, boy, get ready. I believe this is Corman's final turn in the director's chair. He's not near death, but I think this is just the last time he actually did helm a movie.
Can you do me a big solid?
Yes.
And can you, because I mean, I need to start now. I need to start bolstering, gathering my energy, taking my vitamins.
Yes.
Please let me know how far we are out from another Howling.
Well, we're pretty close because the next week after Frankenstein Unbound is Howling 6.
All right, so I need to see my priest.
Yeah.
I need to get my affairs in order.
Yeah.
I need to hang the religious icons around my apartment.
We got a brief respite of this for 2 weeks and Frankenstein Unbound, and then we're right back to Howling.
Oh boy, man, the 90s. The 90s have been a little rough so far.
The beginning of the 90s is tough because then we go right from Howling to Subspecies.
Oh man.
It's going to be a while before we get to the first good one, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ugh.
It takes
and I will say that's a good one. For all the problems I have with it, I would still watch that.
That is still our most anticipated episode, right? Because we've almost had that conversation countless times.
Yeah, it's going to be a difference of opinion that neither of us will. I'm not out to convince anybody. It's all about personal opinion.
Yeah.
So there's no way I'm going to say all my faults and you'll go, you're right, I don't like it very much.
Right.
And just like nothing you're going to say is going to make me say the problems I have with it have now disappeared.
Well, and I think it's one of those things where we both like it. It's degrees of how much we like it. Like for me, it is my favorite screen version of Dracula. So we'll have that conversation when we get there.
It's the closest we've gotten so far to what I want, which is why I judge it so harshly. I've said that many times.
Then actually maybe we don't disagree that much on it being the best screen version.
I think so. I mean, I think I agree. It's just that I want it to be better.
Yeah. Well, once again, we'll get to that when we get to that. But instead, we have to talk about Frankenstein Unbound, which I said I enjoy a Corman schlockfest. So. And good actors and a weird looking monster. I think next week's at least going to be fun. Something that was completely devoid of this production, right?
Yep. It's a weird sci-fi-ish twist, but we will see.
I'm on board for that. That sounds fun to me. And once again, Raul Julia as Dr. Frankenstein. I'm here.
Yeah. I often think of Raul Julia and Peter Cushing in the same roles.
Both kind of
imagine
handsome.
Peter Cushing as M. Bison.
Oh yes. Actually, I think he would have been pretty great.
Well, except for M. Bison is supposed to be the size of a fucking truck.
Well, and
but as far as gravitas,
yeah. I mean, because it's not that far of a jump from Grand Moff Tarkin.
No.
So we'll talk.
And don't forget, when it comes to Moffs, he was one of the grandest.
He was the grandest of all, right? Well, okay, that's gonna wrap up. Thank God we're finally done with this. This week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
Insert some stupid bit of opera here, and I'll lip sync to it. Okay.